What if I told you the most powerful manifestations don't come from shouting your desires into the world, but from the quiet alignment you hold in secret? That the universe hears not the noise of your words, but the purity of your energy, and that miracles, real ones, begin in silence. You've been taught to visualize loudly, to declare with force, to tell the world what you want, but what if the very act of announcing your dreams is what delays them? What if the true key to divine manifestation is not to speak, but to become? Right now there's something calling to you. Maybe it's an unspoken longing, a quiet desire that lives in the soft places of your heart. You haven't told anyone about it, not really. Not because you're afraid, but because you know. Deep down, something tells you this one isn't meant to be shared, it's meant to be felt. There's an ancient knowing within you that whispers, protect this, hold it close. Let it grow in the dark where the soil is fertile. And you're right, because in the space between your thoughts and your words, there in that sacred stillness, is where creation truly begins. Everything is energy, you've heard this before, but have you truly understood what it means? The chair you're sitting on, the thoughts passing through your mind, the memory that just surfaced, all of it, vibration, all of it resonance. And the universe, it doesn't listen with ears. It responds to vibration. It responds to frequency. It responds to who you're being when no one's watching. Imagine your life as a frequency broadcast. Every time you think a thought, feel an emotion, or carry a belief, you're tuning your dial, not in theory, but in the field, the quantum field. And the universe mirrors that back with precision, not what you say you want, but what you are. It's like speaking to an echo. You shout abundance, but inside you're still vibrating lack. So what returns to you? Not the words, not the hope, but the signal, the frequency, the vibration. And here's the quiet truth they don't tell you. The ones who manifest the most extraordinary realities are often the quietest about it. Not because they're secretive, but because they're aligned, because their energy is so clear, so anchored, so congruent. They don't need to convince the world. They don't even need to convince themselves. They just are. You can feel the difference, can't you? Think back to a moment where something amazing happened in your life. Not because you chased it, but because you became the version of you that naturally received it. It was effortless, serendipitous, like life conspired in your favor without you needing to explain why. That's the essence of silent manifestation. And the reason it works so powerfully is because it bypasses resistance. The moment you speak a desire out loud, something subtle begins to happen. Your ego enters. Your mind starts to track the distance between where you are and what you've declared. You start analyzing. You start looking for proof. And without meaning to, you introduce doubt. But in silence, there's no performance, no measuring stick, no need to prove anything to anyone. Just alignment, just resonance, just being. This doesn't mean you suppress your desires. It means you internalize them so deeply they become a natural part of your energetic field. Like breathing, like walking, like knowing. The ones who experience the most miracles are often the ones who don't announce them. Why? Because they understand that the universe doesn't respond to theatrics. It responds to truth. And truth doesn't need to be broadcast, it radiates. Have you ever walked into a room and just felt someone's presence before they spoke a word? That's the power of aligned energy. It speaks before you do. It commands before you open your mouth. And the universe is listening to that always. You're not manifesting by telling people your plan. You're manifesting by becoming the person who has already lived the result. Think about that. Not someday I will, but I am. Not I hope this happens, but this is who I am now. That's the frequency shift. That's when the quantum field begins to rearrange itself, not because you forced it, but because it no longer has a choice. Your vibration became the instruction. There is a reason mystics, shamans, and ancient masters often went into silence when calling in something sacred. They knew the power of containment. Not secrecy, containment. When you contain something energetically, it builds pressure, intensity, power. You're not diluting the desire by leaking it through words. You're feeding it, warming it, charging it. Just like a seed underground, it doesn't sprout because you keep digging it up to check. It sprouts because you trusted the soil, the water, the process. You, your consciousness, your energy. That is the soil, that is the water, that is the light. And the seed you've been carrying? It knows what to do. If you stop interrupting it with your doubt, your impatience, your need to explain yourself to the world, you don't need to justify your dreams. You don't need to make noise. Your alignment is enough. Let that sink in. Let yourself soften into that truth. You're not here to beg the universe for favors. You're here to remember that you are the universe. Localized, embodied, aware. And when you align with the feeling of already having, the external must comply. Not because you said the right thing, but because you became the right vibration. And that shift, it happens quietly, secretly, in the privacy of your heart, in the stillness of your breath, in the spaces where no one is watching but you and the infinite. That's where the miracles begin. You see, the ones who know, they don't announce. They don't post about their vision boards. They don't rush to explain what they're manifesting, because they're too busy becoming it. They've slipped into the frequency, like water taking the shape of a new container. And when it happens right, when that energy clicks into place, you don't need to say anything. Reality starts to shift around you, effortlessly, silently. The people who get what they want aren't always the ones working the hardest. They're the ones aligned the deepest. They understand a truth most miss. That you don't attract what you say you want, you attract what you're emotionally congruent with, what your nervous system accepts as safe, what your subconscious believes is normal. That's why the work is always internal, not loud, not performative, but private, sacred. It's why so many spiritual traditions honor the mystery of silence. Because when you go quiet, you begin to hear what really matters. You tune in, not out. And when that happens, when the inner noise settles, something else wakes up. Your field, your resonance, your power. There's an electromagnetic field around your heart. Science has confirmed this, and it extends several feet beyond your physical body. That's not philosophy, that's physics. That field is broadcasting right now, telling the universe what's true for you. Not what you wish was true, what you accept as true. So if deep down you don't believe you're worthy of love, no affirmation will override that frequency. If your subconscious has been programmed to fear abundance, no vision board will undo that signal until you go in, until you gently and quietly rewire the system. This is why the most profound transformation doesn't happen on stages. It happens in whispers, in the dark, in the mirror, when no one else is around. It happens when you close your eyes and feel the version of you who already has what you once prayed for. Not just think it, feel it. Your emotions are the steering wheel of your manifestation. They don't lie. You can say, I'm ready, but if your body is tense, if your chest is tight, if your breath is shallow, the universe knows. Not because it's judging, but because it responds to coherence. When your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs line up, there's a vibrational coherence that's undeniable. That's when the field begins to bend. That's when you become magnetic. Not by force, not by effort, but by resonance. So how do you get there? You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop looking outside for permission or validation, and you turn inward. You go quiet. You feel, you visualize, not to beg for something to happen, but to practice the state of it already being so. This is the secret behind gratitude, not as a moral virtue, but as a frequency. When you're truly grateful for something, what are you saying to the universe? I have it, it is here, I'm receiving it now. Gratitude anchors you in the end state. And that's where you create from. The end, the feeling of it already being done. Not hoping, not wishing, knowing. You don't plant a seed and then stand over the soil shouting, I hope you grow. You water it, you tend to the ground, and you expect it to rise, not because you're arrogant, but because you understand how nature works. The same is true of your manifestations. They respond to expectation, not desperation, to alignment, not explanation. And that's why silence is sacred. Because in silence there's no audience, no filter, no posturing, just you and source, you and truth, you and the quiet whisper of it's already done. There is a part of you that remembers how to live this way, a version of you that already knows. You've seen glimpses of it, moments where things just worked, where you didn't need to try so hard, where the right person showed up, the opportunity came out of nowhere, the money arrived when you needed it most. That wasn't luck, that was alignment. That was you, perhaps without even realizing it, slipping into a frequency that matched your desire. It felt easy because it was easy, and your mind may have brushed it off, but your soul knew. And now it's time to do that intentionally, not loudly, not publicly, but deliberately, quietly. This is why you're watching this now. Not by accident, but by design. Because you've been calling something in, haven't you? Silently, maybe even timidly, but the call has been there. And this is your confirmation. The universe has heard you, not through your words, through your field, through the shift that's already begun inside you. So now the invitation is simple. Stop explaining, start embodying. Stop seeking, start becoming. You're not waiting for the miracle, you are the miracle. And when you understand that, truly understand it, you stop trying to pull things in, they start moving toward you naturally, inevitable, drawn to your field like gravity. That's the new paradigm, that's the quantum truth. You are a creator, not a beggar, a co-author, not a spectator. You're not here to prove your worth, you're here to remember it. And when you do, you begin to feel the universe moving, not in fireworks, but in subtle waves, in nudges, in synchronicities that feel too perfect to ignore. That's the signal. That's the miracle. Not because you shouted, but because you aligned. And the best part, once you truly live this way, once you let go of the need to announce your desires and just become the person who naturally receives them, you'll start to see reality shift in ways that feel surreal. The person you were trying so hard to be just shows up one day, not because you chased them, but because you stopped running away from them. And when people ask, "How did you do it?" you'll smile, because there won't be a formula, no checklist, no 5-step plan, only one truth. You went quiet, and the universe heard everything. There's something sacred about a desire kept only between you and the divine, not because it's hidden in fear, but because it's protected in reverence. When you hold a vision close to your heart and choose not to speak it into the world prematurely, you're not being secretive, you're being wise, you're building pressure, you're respecting the seed, you're allowing the magic to marinate in your vibration until it becomes undeniable. Have you ever noticed how some things fall apart the moment you talk about them too soon? It's like the energy gets scattered, diffused, weakened. That's not coincidence. That's the subtle science of energy containment. Because every time you explain your dream to someone who can't see it, you open the door to doubt, and their doubt begins to echo inside you. Not because you're weak, but because you're energetically porous. We all are. You are a vibrational being. You pick up on tones, glances, body language, thoughts, not even spoken. And when you share your intention too early, before it's fully rooted in your being, you risk letting other frequencies interfere with your alignment. That's why silence is a superpower. That's why the greatest creators move quietly, in stillness, in sacred solitude, until the manifestation is so real, so alive, it simply reveals itself without explanation. When you manifest in silence, it's not about keeping secrets. It's about maintaining integrity. Integrity isn't just moral, it's energetic. It means wholeness. So when your thoughts, feelings, and identity are in agreement, without the need for outside validation, you've reached integrity. That's when your vibration becomes clean, focused, pure. And that's when reality starts to bend. Let others wonder what you're doing. Let them guess how you're glowing. You don't owe them the blueprint. You don't need to justify your alignment. You're not here to convince, you're here to remember that who you are, as you are, is already worthy of receiving it all. You don't attract abundance by trying to be more. You attract it by realizing you were never less. There is a version of you that is already living the life you want, not metaphorically. Energetically, that version exists in the field, and your job isn't to become them, it's to tune to them. And tuning doesn't require shouting, it doesn't require you to announce, "I'm stepping into my next chapter." It just requires one thing: alignment. Quiet, focused, emotional alignment. When you speak less, you feel more, you listen more, you notice the signals, the signs, the synchronicities. You stop chasing meaning and start catching messages. Everything begins to communicate with you in whispers. The license plate, the dream that woke you up, the song that played at just the right time. These are not accidents, these are responses. Evidence that your vibration has gone active. And when it does, the field arranges itself. It moves people, places, circumstances in your favor, not because you begged it to, but because you matched it. And that's what this really is. It's not a system of deserving, it's a system of matching. You're not manifesting what you think you deserve. You're manifesting what you believe is normal, what your body, your nervous system, your heart can hold. That's why silent manifestation works so powerfully, because it rewires you internally. It helps you normalize abundance in the body before it arrives in the world. You close your eyes and feel yourself in the new apartment, and your breathing slows, your shoulders drop, your body says yes, and that yes echoes through the quantum. You picture the love, and you feel safe, open, grounded, not frantic. That's what tells the universe you're ready. Not that you want it, but that you can hold it, that you're no longer resisting it, that you're no longer trying to earn it. You've become a vibrational match for the experience, and once that happens, the outer reality has no choice but to follow. You've already felt this before. Maybe it was subtle, maybe it didn't last long, but it happened. That one moment when you just knew, when everything inside of you clicked into place and you stopped doubting. And suddenly, the text came, the email arrived, the door opened. That wasn't random, that was resonance. And the more you make that state your home, the more the external world becomes a mirror of your internal reality. You stop needing signs, because you are the sign. You stop needing proof, because you live in knowing. And that's what scares the old version of you, the one who needed plans, steps, guarantees. But you're not them anymore. You're something more refined, more present, more powerful. You're the version who doesn't panic when the outcome isn't visible, because you know the vibration is active. You feel it humming inside you like a tuning fork, and you trust that the physical must follow the energetic. It always does. That's not hope, that's law. Energy doesn't lie, it only reflects. So instead of trying to get, you tune to become. Instead of striving, you settle. Instead of speaking it to everyone else, you speak it to yourself, in your meditation, in your breath, in the quiet moments when no one else can hear but the infinite. And that's enough. In fact, that's everything. That's where the real power lives, in the unseen, in the unspoken, in the vibration you hold in the dark before the miracle breaks through the soil. Because yes, the universe will send you miracles, but not because you shouted for them, because you aligned with them in secret. And when they arrive, you won't be surprised. You'll recognize them. You'll feel the resonance, the familiarity, the sacred déjà vu. You'll smile, not because something new happened, but because something inevitable finally revealed itself. And it will feel like remembering, because it was never outside of you. It was always yours, always waiting, just beneath the surface of your silence. You may not even realize how much has already begun shifting, because when you're manifesting from silence, the changes often arrive without fanfare. They come softly, quiet miracles. A person calls at the exact moment you were thinking of them. An opportunity appears just as you release the need for it. A solution unfolds not because you pushed for it, but because you finally let go of the struggle. And in that release, you entered the current that's always been flowing, always pulling you toward your highest timeline, not the one you strive for, the one that feels natural, the one that feels like home. And you'll know you're in it when you stop feeling like you have to fight, when you stop needing to explain, when you realize your peace is no longer conditional. That's what alignment gives you. It gives you access to the reality that already exists in potential. You're not creating from scratch. You're selecting, tuning, merging. And when you live from that place, your presence becomes magnetic. People feel it. Even if they don't know what it is, they just feel calm around you, inspired, drawn in. Because you're not performing. You're embodying. You're not chasing, you're becoming. And that difference is everything. You don't have to tell anyone that you're manifesting something powerful. They'll feel it in how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you don't need to convince. Because when you're aligned, you stop leaking energy. You become whole, and wholeness speaks louder than words ever could. There's an elegance to silence, a sacredness to the unspoken. It tells the universe, I trust you. It tells the future, I'm ready. It tells your past, you no longer define me. And this doesn't mean you isolate yourself. It means you shift your focus from performance to presence, from needing external approval to cultivating internal coherence. You start asking different questions, not how do I make this happen, but who do I need to be for this to feel normal? And the answer always comes in feeling, in imagery, in vibration, because the subconscious doesn't speak English. It speaks emotion, it speaks rhythm, it speaks repetition. So you impress it not through logic but through feeling it again and again until it becomes familiar. You sit in the stillness and feel what it's like to be loved, to be seen, to be financially free, not in some faraway someday, but right now. And the more you feel it, the more your nervous system recalibrates, the more your brain creates new pathways, the more the universe gets the message that this is your new baseline. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to be perfect, you don't have to fake positivity. You don't have to pretend to have it all together. You just have to return to the feeling, again and again, like a tuning fork bringing you back to harmony. The world will try to pull you into doubt, distraction, fear, but your power is in the return. You come back to the breath, you come back to the stillness, you come back to the feeling of already done. And in doing so, you remind the universe that you're not attached to the timeline. You're not addicted to the how. You're anchored in the truth that reality is not built on effort, it's built on energy. And your energy is becoming clearer, stronger, more refined with every moment you choose to trust the invisible over the illusion of delay. Because that's all delay is, an illusion. There is no delay in the field. The moment you align, the moment you tune, the moment you embody, the reality you want becomes available. You may not see it yet, but it's there, just beyond the visible, like a radio station that's already broadcasting, waiting for you to turn the dial. So when you feel resistance, don't panic. Don't spiral. Just notice, breathe, and gently realign. Resistance is not a sign that something's wrong. It's a sign that something within you is being shown the light. It's an invitation to upgrade the internal blueprint, to meet the old story with new awareness, to remind yourself that your power lies not in controlling, but in choosing. You choose peace. You choose trust. You choose the frequency of already done. And that choice, repeated, becomes your new state of being. And when your state changes, your world must follow. That's not a possibility, that's a law. The law of vibration is always responding to your state, not your statements. That's why your silent alignment speaks louder than any affirmation ever could. Because it's not just in your voice, it's in your field, it's in your posture. It's in your breath, it's in your stillness. You become a walking signal, a living frequency. And that's when the miracles begin to find you, not as exceptions, but as reflections. Because by the time they arrive, you've already felt them so many times that they don't surprise you. They feel normal, familiar, right? Because in truth, they are. They're not foreign, they're remembered. And you won't need to explain how they came. You won't need to defend your methods. You'll just smile, And perhaps someone will ask you what changed, and if they're ready, you'll tell them. You went quiet. You stopped asking the world to validate your dreams and started validating them with your own energy. You stopped speaking as if you were waiting and started feeling as if it had already happened. You became the thing before it appeared. And it appeared, of course it did. It had no other choice, because energy doesn't chase, it attracts. And silence, true silence, is the purest form of power. It's the space where miracles are born, where timelines bend, where the unseen meets the seen. So from now on, let silence be your sanctuary. Let it hold your dreams like sacred seeds. Let it be the womb where your next chapter begins, because it is in that silence that the universe listens most closely, and it is from that silence that miracles will come. There's something deeply comforting about knowing you don't have to perform for your future. That your next level doesn't require you to shout from rooftops, post every intention, or convince anyone of who you're becoming. You're allowed to grow in silence, to evolve in stillness, to let the most powerful parts of your life unfold behind the curtain of your becoming. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not lost, you are simply being refined. Every delay you've misunderstood was actually a recalibration. Every moment you thought was a pause was a preparation. Life has been shaping you for the very thing you asked for, just not in the way your mind expected. And maybe that's the real miracle, not that you get what you want, but that you become the version of you who no longer doubts when it arrives. You start walking with a quiet certainty, not loud, not showy, just grounded, embodied, present. The people around you begin to notice, not because you told them anything, but because they can feel the shift. You've stopped needing to prove your worth, and that absence of seeking, that stillness, is magnetic. You become the calm in the room, the anchor, the mirror, the one whose energy speaks before any words are needed. And the truth is, you don't get there by chance, you get there by choosing it, over and over. Especially when the old version of you wants to panic, especially when nothing seems to be happening yet. That's when the real work begins. Not in the outer world, but inside, in the breath, in the body, in the field. You close your eyes and remind yourself of the feeling, the outcome, the frequency. You breathe into it like it's already here, because in many ways it is. The only thing separating you from it is the part of you still clinging to doubt. But even doubt is not your enemy. Doubt is the echo of your past, trying to protect you from disappointment. Let it speak, but don't let it lead. Let it rise, but don't let it drive. You can hold space for doubt and still choose trust. You can feel the old fear and still take a new breath. And with each of those breaths, your energy begins to change. Slowly at first, then unmistakably. The way you carry yourself shifts. The way you think begins to soften. The way you speak becomes more deliberate, more rooted. And little by little you start to notice that life responds differently to you. People show up out of nowhere. Money flows when you're not obsessing over it. Ideas come in dreams or in the silence of your morning coffee. Because you've stopped trying to make it happen and started allowing it to unfold. You've entered the receiving frequency. And that frequency, that feeling of calm expectation, is one of the most powerful states a human can access. It's the frequency of alignment, the frequency of inevitability. It's when you're no longer asking, will it happen, but simply resting in the knowing, of course it will. That's not arrogance. That's resonance. That's the result of having visited that future so many times in your energy that it feels more real than your current reality. And because of that, it begins to magnetize toward you, effortlessly. And maybe someone will ask what your secret is. Maybe they'll think you did something complicated. Maybe they'll expect you to hand them a long checklist. But you'll know the truth. The secret was never in the doing. It was in the being you returned to in silence. The being you chose when no one was watching. The being who trusted the unseen, even when the visible hadn't caught up yet. That's how you became the match. That's how you called it in. Not through words, through vibration, And that vibration didn't need to be loud, it just needed to be true. The most aligned version of you lives in that truth, not a version who begs, not one who seeks approval, not one who forces the outcome, but the version who wakes up each day with an unshakable peace, because they've stopped waiting for permission. That version of you already exists, and you can access them right now by closing your eyes and remembering who you really are, by slowing your breath and reconnecting to the version of you who already feels abundant, already feels loved, already feels free. You don't need to earn that state. You don't need to prove your way into it. You simply need to choose it, even if it's just for one breath at a time. And from that breath, everything begins to unfold, not because you shouted, but because you whispered to the universe, and the universe whispered back. It whispered through a person who smiled at you when you were doubting yourself. It whispered through an email that arrived at just the right moment. It whispered through your intuition, telling you to turn left instead of right, leading you exactly where you needed to be. And every time you followed that whisper, something shifted. That's how miracles begin, not in noise, in listening, in trusting the small nudges, in respecting the quiet voice inside that says, "You don't have to try so hard. Just be who you truly are." And when you do, the path reveals itself. Not all at once, but step by step, with each step reflecting the energy you're holding, because you no longer need to chase. You've become the one who attracts, and as your energy settles into that truth, your life begins to reflect it in ways that feel too perfect to explain. But you won't need to explain, because the energy will speak for itself, and you'll smile, not because it's a surprise, but because it was always meant to be this way. You've heard people say, energy doesn't lie, but what they don't always tell you is this: energy also doesn't rush. It doesn't panic, it doesn't beg, it simply aligns, holds, and allows. And that's where your power truly begins to grow. When you stop needing to be seen and instead choose to be centered. When you stop proving and start embodying. It's tempting to want to share your breakthroughs, to scream from the rooftops when you finally feel the shift. But there's a sacredness in choosing to hold that frequency just a little longer, to nurture it, to protect it like a flame in the wind, not because you're hiding it, but because you're honoring what it took to get here. You've walked through so much, faced versions of yourself that tried to convince you it wasn't working, sat through nights where the silence felt too loud and the waiting felt endless. And still, you stayed. You kept believing. You kept aligning. You kept feeling what it would be like to be on the other side. And that is the reason things are beginning to unfold now. Not because of force, but because of faith. Not blind faith, but embodied knowing. The kind of faith that whispers, "It's already done," even when your outer world hasn't caught up. The kind that lets you sleep peacefully, not because everything's figured out, but because your soul is no longer at war with your circumstances. You're not chasing outcomes anymore. You're creating conditions. You're becoming the environment where your desires feel welcome, safe, and expected. And because of that, they're coming, quietly, swiftly, naturally. And you won't have to question if they're real, because you'll feel them before you see them. You'll feel the calm before the call. You'll feel the joy before the opportunity. You'll feel the fullness before the manifestation. Because that's what real manifestation is. It's not about summoning something outside of you. It's about activating what already exists within you. And the moment your internal reality changes, your external world reorganizes itself to match. You don't need to hustle your way into miracles. You just need to stop resisting them. You just need to release the idea that they come through effort, struggle, or desperation. They come through harmony. And harmony isn't loud. It's gentle, it's subtle, it's the soft smile you wear before the blessing arrives. The way you light a candle and whisper thank you without anything in your hands yet. The way you carry yourself through the day, not because everything's perfect, but because you've decided that your energy will be. That's the shift, that's the access point. That's what the universe is responding to. Not your wants, not your words, your willingness to become. And yes, there will be moments where the old patterns try to creep back in. You'll feel the pull to post about what you're manifesting, to explain your process, to ask someone if they can feel what you're feeling. But you'll pause. And in that pause, you'll remember the most important thing of all, that this isn't about proving anything to anyone. This is about resonance. This is about frequency. This is about choosing yourself before the world does. Because when you do, the world follows. And maybe not right away, maybe not all at once, but piece by piece, sign by sign, reflection by reflection, it will, because energy is law. It doesn't care if it takes days or decades, it only cares about congruence. And you're becoming more congruent every day. Your thoughts are softening, your breath is deepening, your energy is clarifying, and the universe feels that. It feels your stillness, it feels your surrender. It feels your quiet yes, and it says yes back. In its own way, in its own timing, but always, always in response to the frequency you hold. So breathe. You're not doing this wrong. You haven't missed your moment. You're being prepared for something precise, something sacred, something that fits the exact vibration you're now learning to hold consistently, quietly, with grace. You're becoming a container for your own miracles. And a true container doesn't spill what it's given. It holds, it protects, it trusts the process, even when the seed hasn't sprouted, even when the rain hasn't come, even when the soil looks still, because the container knows something is growing, and so do you. That's why you're calm when others are restless. That's why you don't chase the noise anymore. Because you've tasted the peace of alignment. And you'd rather be grounded than loud. You'd rather be rooted than recognized. You'd rather be whole than seen. And when you live like that, when you honor the divine timing of your own evolution, you discover a secret very few people understand. The universe doesn't bless noise, it blesses readiness. And readiness lives in silence. It lives in the energy that says, I am already the one. Not, I hope I get there. Not, I need to prove I'm worthy, but I remember who I am, I remember what's mine, and in that remembering everything begins to rearrange. You'll start to feel it before you see it. Subtle waves of confirmation, nudges, alignments too perfect to call coincidence, emotions rising for no reason at all, joy, gratitude, tears. You won't always be able to explain it, but you'll know. That's the universe speaking, not in thunder, but in stillness, not in spectacle, but in subtlety. And that's where you meet it. That's where you meet yourself. That's where the power is, right here, right now, in the breath, in the body, in the invisible frequency you've been fine-tuning quietly, patiently all along. That's how miracles move, soft, steady, silent. And when they arrive, you won't have to ask, is this it? You'll feel it in your bones, you'll know. It already is. You didn't come here to shout over the noise, you came to remember how to vibrate so clearly, so truthfully that everything meant for you has no choice but to arrive. And it will. Not because you demanded it, but because you became it. You became the energy. You became the embodiment. And there's no force in the universe more powerful than that. This isn't about waiting, it's about being. That subtle shift changes everything. Because the version of you who waits is also the version who doubts. The version who holds, who hesitates, but the version of you who is already, that version receives. That version breathes differently, speaks differently, moves differently. And it's not an act, it's a return. A falling back into what's already true. You are not trying to become someone else. You're peeling away the layers that kept you from seeing who you've always been, and when you live from that truth, the outer world begins to mirror it in every direction. This is why the greatest shifts happen without warning, because they're not created through external steps, they're created through internal thresholds. You reach a moment where your energy no longer matches the old story, and the universe responds instantly. The people who no longer serve your evolution begin to fall away. The opportunities you used to chase begin to appear. The silence you feared becomes your sanctuary. You're not alone in this. Every awakened soul who has walked the path of transformation has faced the pull to announce it, to validate the process, to show the world that something is happening, but the real power is in choosing not to. Not because you're afraid of being misunderstood, but because you understand the value of protecting sacred energy. Your manifestation is sacred, your alignment is sacred, your transformation is sacred, and not everyone is meant to witness your becoming. Some chapters are written only for your soul, some initiations require solitude. Because that's where the old identity dissolves, that's where the ego softens, that's where the frequency upgrades. And it always upgrades in stillness. The caterpillar doesn't announce the moment it becomes the butterfly. It happens in the cocoon, in darkness, in quiet. You've been in your own cocoon, haven't you? Feeling the stretch, the tension, the dissolving of the old life without yet seeing the new form. That's not failure. That's formation. That's creation doing what it's always done. Reshape energy into embodiment. You're not chasing transformation. You're transmitting it. You're not seeking miracles. You're radiating them, because your field is different now. It's softer, clearer, stronger. You don't need to convince anyone that you're evolving. You don't need applause to validate your alignment. You're walking into rooms with silent certainty, and the beauty is, you'll feel it before anyone else sees it. You'll feel the lightness, the quiet joy, the sense of deep connection with something unseen but undeniable. It's like remembering a song you didn't know you forgot. Like meeting yourself again after years of pretending to be someone else. That's the power of silent manifestation. It brings you home, not just to the desire, but to your identity, your divine identity, the one that doesn't second-guess its power, the one that doesn't wait for permission, the one that doesn't announce every step because it knows the steps are already written. You don't have to perform your becoming, you only need to trust it. You don't have to scream into the void, you only need to whisper into your own heart. You don't have to beg the universe for signs, you are the sign. That's what you came here to remember. And yes, the world may not always understand this version of you, the one who no longer feels the need to explain, who no longer plays small to make others comfortable, who no longer performs worthiness. But that's okay. They're not supposed to understand. They're supposed to feel it. They're supposed to be moved by it. Not because you told them to be, but because you walked in truth. And truth doesn't shout, it radiates. It hums beneath the surface like a song only those tuned in can hear. And when it's real, when it's pure, when it's rooted in love, not fear, it becomes magnetic, not flashy, not loud, but irresistible. The right people, the right paths, the right moments, they feel your truth. They align with it. They move toward it effortlessly. And you keep your gaze inward. You stay rooted in the breath. You protect your peace like the sacred flame it is. You remember that you don't have to tell the world you're changing. You show it by how you live. You show it in how you no longer chase what doesn't match your frequency. You show it in how you don't engage in the same stories, the same patterns, the same energetic games. You show it by how you rest when you used to rush, by how you breathe when you used to break, by how you listen when you used to speak just to fill the space. And in that stillness you become a channel, a vessel, a signal, the kind of person who doesn't just talk about miracles. You become the space where miracles are born, not forced, not begged for, but invited, through the frequency of who you are when no one is watching. Because the universe always watches, not your words, your energy, not your plans, your presence, not your declarations, your being. So take this moment now, not to try harder, not to do more, but to deepen your stillness, to trust the invisible, to feel the power pulsing beneath your skin, that quiet hum that says, "It's already happening, because it is. Not tomorrow, not someday, now, in this breath, in this moment, in this stillness. Your miracle is no longer a distant idea. It's a vibration you're already holding. And from this place, all things are possible. And now that you feel it, Now that you know, let it rise through you like breath. Let it settle into your bones. Let it become the rhythm that carries you forward, not as something you have to work for, but as something you are already tuned to. You've been preparing for this your whole life. Every moment of silence, every tear you cried in private, every hope you didn't speak aloud because the world wasn't ready to hear it, all of it has led you here, and here is where everything begins. Not with a bang, not with a breakthrough post, but with you, breathing differently, moving differently, choosing differently. You've become a tuning fork for miracles, and when you walk into the room now, even if no one understands what's changed, they'll feel it. They'll feel the harmony inside you. They'll sense the invisible shift, and your life will begin to reflect what you've been holding quietly for so long. This is the power of sacred stillness. This is the energy of divine containment. It doesn't mean hiding, it means holding. It means honoring what's still forming, protecting the delicate new frequency of who you're becoming. The world doesn't need to be convinced, it needs to witness, and when the time is right, it will. The result of your alignment will speak louder than anything you could say, because energy reveals the truth long before the words ever catch up. And now you understand. You're not here to create through desperation, through hustle, through noise. You're here to remember the ancient, quiet power that lives in every cell of your body. You're here to create from the field, from coherence, from deep, uninterrupted trust. So, if your dreams feel close but not yet physical, keep going. If your reality hasn't caught up to your vibration, stay grounded. And if no one sees what you're carrying yet, carry it anyway. With love, with intention, with reverence. Because soon they won't be able to ignore it. They'll ask what you did differently. And you'll smile, not because you finally get to explain, but because you no longer need to. You'll know the real shift wasn't in your circumstances, it was in your state. The miracles were never late. They were just waiting for you to match their frequency. And now you have. You've tuned to the version of yourself who receives without forcing, who manifests without declaring, who holds miracles not with clenched fists, but with open hands. And those hands, they're ready now, to receive, to catch, to cradle the life that once lived only in your imagination, to hold the joy that once felt like a distant promise, because now it's real, now it's here, and now, so are you. You've arrived not at the destination but at the doorway, the one that was always open but required you to slow down, breathe deeper, and soften into the frequency that was calling you all along. You've become the version of you who no longer asks when, because you already feel the yes. And from that yes, your life becomes a sacred unfolding. One breath at a time, one alignment at a time, one silent miracle at a time. So take a breath now, not to fix, not to shift, but to honor. To honor the version of you who chose to listen, the version who chose stillness over spectacle, the version who dared to believe that silence could be divine, that whispers could be powerful, that miracles respond not to volume but to vibration. You are not just manifesting your next chapter. You are embodying the energy that writes it, and you no longer need the world to notice, because you finally do. You see yourself now, you feel yourself now, and that, more than anything, is the miracle, because when you see yourself clearly, everything else aligns. People, places, paths, they adjust to meet the energy you hold. And the energy you hold now, it's unstoppable. Because it's rooted, because it's calm, because it's sacred. And sacred energy always manifests, not on demand, but on time, perfect time, and when it does, you'll meet it with grace, with presence, with knowing, because you'll feel it echo through your body like something you've lived before, because in many ways you have. You've already visited this future in your energy 1,000 times, and now it's simply catching up to you, and all you had to do was go quiet,